Hi everyone, this is Cindy Sartain with Dare to be Artsy. And today I'm going to share some tips on coloring Gnelie the gnome in our flower gnome and our crafty gnome stamp sets. On the back of the packaging, you're going to find some samples to help you out. We're going to start by coloring the skin with E02, E51, and Y21. Now I'm going to start with the lightest color first, and I'm going to saturate the face area. And sometimes you're going to want to start with the darkest color first, but for the skin, I like starting with the lightest color. So we just have her face and her little hands. Then we're going to come in with the medium color, Y21. And I'm just going to go around the outside edges, a little bit on her nose, around her, on the bottom part of her hands and the left side of her neck. And then you'll see that the images is kind of yellow, so I wanted to come in then with the next color has a little bit more peach color in it. And again, I'm going to go on the left side of her face and on the bottom part of her hands and the left side of the nose and a little bit under the hairline. So now it's time to blend those colors. So I'm going to go back in with the lightest color, the E51. And now, as you can see, as it blends, it's much more of a peach color instead of that yellow. So it blends really nice, has the yellow undertone. And you can just keep going back and forth between those colors just to make it a nice, smooth finish. I want there to be a little bit more shadow and give her a little bit rosy cheek. So I'm going to come back in with that peachy color and then blend it out. And you just keep going back and forth until you feel like it's blended real well. Now we're going to do the hair. And with this, I'm going to start with the darkest color first. And this one, I'm going to really want some of the brushy strokes to show up. So I'm also going to have the light source coming in from the top right side. So you're going to think about where the highlights are going to be in her hair. I'm going to make short little brush strokes. And the way I drew the hair, it gives you lots of ideas on where you're going to put those shadows because you really want the dimension to show. So I'm going to come behind the little curls, from behind her head, and then some of these little areas are going to, you can tell, are tucked behind, so I'm going to add the dark colors there. Everything that looks like it's behind, those are the areas I'm going to make the darkest. And on the bottom side of the little curls, let's put a little bit of shading up here in the hairline, in the bangs. So you're going to start to see the dimension forming. Now I'm going to go with the medium brown, the E24, and I'm going to go right over the dark and then bring those stroke lines in a little bit more. So you're covering the dark and then just bringing those lines towards the center, but I'm not filling the area. I'm still leaving some white areas for the highlights. And with the hair, you can really leave those brushy strokes. It's okay to not blend it too much. Now you can already start to see how some of the curls are sitting on top of the ones in the back. So you're already starting to see some dimension. And this little area back here, I want to darken that up. Now I'm going to go in with the lightest color. This is E34. And now you can cover the whole thing. You can start from the dark and blend all the way out, filling in the white areas. And you don't have to blend too much. You can, again, still leave some of the stroke marks. Just make sure you cover up all the little white areas. Now you can really start seeing those curls better. And then on this side, again, just filling it in, making sure all of the white areas are filled in. Make sure you get behind her neck. And the bottom curls down here. And one more curl. Okay, blending that out a little bit. Okay, so I think I want to come back in with the darkest color again, just to make some of those areas even darker behind. So let's come back in with a few more of the strokes, or you can even just use the medium color, blend that in. The curls that sit behind, make those darker. Make sure you keep some of the light curls on top. And filling in, again, the little areas behind a little bit darker. And the areas right along her face, and in the very back, I'm just adding that extra little dark brown, so you can really start to see the dimension in her hair. This is the E29, and I think it just needs to be a little bit darker right along her face. So everything that you're doing really dark is going to set that area back further. So this really makes her face pop out. And you can come back in with a lighter color again, blend it a little bit more. You can leave it, you can leave the brush strokes showing, or you can blend it smooth, but I kind of like leaving it a little bit sketchy. Then we're going to pull our teal colors out. This is BG000, and I'm going to saturate the hat using that same light source from the top right corner. Then we're going to do her dress. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and fill that whole background in with the lightest color first. Then I'm going to use BG23, and the darker colors are going to be on the left side, because remember that light source is coming in from the right. I'm going to put just a narrow shading on the right side, but you can tell that there's more shading on the left. On her dress, her hair is creating some shadows, so I'm going to want the darkest side, or the darkest color around the edge of the hair. This is BG45. I'm just going to add a little bit more going from the outside in on both sides and along her collar. Again, kind of where the hairline is, I'm going to create some shadow there. Then I'm going to go in with an even darker color, BG49. Again, this is right along the edge and along the bottom of the hat. Kind of the same areas I went through before, just right along the hairline, the back of the skirt, the areas that are going to be shaded from her hair. And along the belt, a little bit along the bottom. And now to really blend it, you're going to start back in with some of the lighter colors, or the medium colors, blending it in from the darkest inward. with just short little brush strokes. Make sure you get kind of behind the flower so the flower is going to pop up a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with the lightest color and just smooth it all out. And you just make little circular motions, just blend that together really well. So now you can really see where that light is coming from. You've got shadows on the dress, shadows on her face, the shadows from the hair. If you want more contrast, just bring that dark color back in a little bit more and deepen up those shadows. Now we're going to use our orange colors. And I kind of pulled these from the paper that we're going to use to make the card. This will be kind of peachy. The first one is R12, and I'm just putting that in the flower. And I'm just going to darken a little bit more. The next one is YR02, and a little bit of orange, YR04. So you really want that flower to kind of have some dimension also. And then go back in with the lightest color and blend it out. Let's go ahead and do her shoes. So I'm just saturating that with the lightest color, adding a little bit of the shading with the next shade, and a little bit of the dark. And then going back with the lightest color and smoothing it out. This is W5. This is just adding a little bit of extra shadow to the bottom of her shoes. The R24, just for a little bit of red on the hat and a few extra little touches here and there. Let's go ahead and do her belt. And give her a little gold buckle. Let's go ahead and just add some of the color in the paintbrushes as well. Some yellow, some orange. Little finishing touches with YG17 for green. And I've got the E25 for a little bit of paintbrush, BG49 for the other marker, a little bit of red. So just going in and just filling in some of the extra areas, adding a little pink to her lips. And we want to go ahead and do the mushrooms. This R20, this light pink, I'm going to put on the mushroom caps. Now my marker here was a little bit dry, but it still worked for what I was doing. Probably time to refill that one. Then I've got R24. And again, I'm using the same light source from the top right corner, just like I did on Gnelie. I'm going to add the dark red on the left side and on the bottom of the mushroom, and just a little bit on the right. Now let's take a lighter color, or a little darker color, R29, and add a little bit more of the dark on the very outside, very far left. Go back in with the light color and start blending it out. Now my light color, there was a pretty big jump from my lightest color to the R24. So what you can do is take a darker color, blend it a little bit more, and then you can use the, see, it's still not quite blending as much as I want it to. So you can take the tip of the lightest color and touch it to the dark color and then blend it. It gives it that in between those two shades. It's kind of a neat little trick. Also, when this marker, since this marker was running really low on ink, by doing that I get to extend the life of that marker. And it just helps blend it a little bit more. There's the really dark red. And go back in with the lightest color, blending it. There you go. Now let's do the last mushroom. There's the medium red. Again, you're going to be on the left side. There's the really dark red. And then blend it in with the lightest color. Now I'm going to just add a little bit more of the peach to the underside of the mushroom, and let's do some browns for the bottom of the mushrooms. This is E34, and then we're going to use the darker brown on the left side, E25. And then blend it. This is E00. This is the lightest color, and I'm going to blend the whole thing out. Now let's just finish these little mushrooms up. I want to add a little bit of color to the card that she's holding, so I'm just going to put a little bit of blue in there to finish that up. And then I'm going to include a link below to the part 2 video for our tips on coloring the flower gnome, and a link to our Monday night video where I use these two gnomes on a slimline card and a Z-fold card. Join us for Artsy with Cindy every Monday night at 7:30 Central Time on Facebook for some more projects. Now have a great week, and I dare you to be artsy.